This is Right on the Money with Tom Mosley, founder of Mosley Wealth Management.
Our mission at Mosley Wealth Management is to help people make sure they never run out of income the rest of their life and they pay as little as they're legally required to pay in taxes.
Since 1995, Tom Mosley and his team have been creating comprehensive, custom financial plans to help you preserve what you've earned and pursue what you've envisioned.
In retirement, a lot of people have built a great lump sum. We call that your lumber yard. But you need a blueprint to put that lumber yard into a plan that you can build a retirement house to live in.
What's on your mind this week, Southern California? The stock market, taxes, inflation, income, Social Security, how to ease into the life of your dreams? Let's discover conservative financial strategies starting right now. This is your Right on the Money Radio Hour with Tom Mosley.
And a very happy weekend to you. You are listening to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California. And I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. We love spending this time with you each and every week, providing you with retirement planning solutions. And we are in the middle of a very special 4-part series. Tom, my friend, it's great to be back with you. How are you?
I am doing great, and I must say, I'm going to give a little secret out right here, Kristin. And today I am down in Temecula, and my baby girl, Mackenzie Taylor Mosley, is getting married to 𝗬𝗫𝗀𝗍𝗍. And so this is a very exciting day in the life of my family. And I know we don't tell people we're not live, but we're not. We recorded earlier for all the things that can go wrong from a technical standpoint. But I am having a great day today because my baby girl's having the day of her life.
Oh, well, congratulations again to Mackenzie and Jermaine, and to you, the father of the bride. No doubt you make a fabulous one.
Well, I sure hope so. We're going to dance to my girl. So I'm excited about that because she's always been my baby girl. You know?
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, can't wait to hear the report, but just praying that it's just a beautiful day and it's more than anyone could have ever hoped for sure.
And you know what, Kristin? I'm hoping nobody videos the dance because I am not a dancer. I promise you that.
2 left feet.
Right.
Well,
right.
we'll stick to the financial planning on this show. You're in a safe space today.
I'm glad I can do something well.
Oh, you can do lots of things well. Well, today we are continuing our special 4-part series all about risks. We're looking at some of the major risks that people are facing in retirement today that can have a negative impact on you financially. And, you know, it's so important to have this conversation, Tom. And I know if folks missed last week's episode, just remind them where they can go to be able to listen to what we talked about last week.
You can go to our website, Mosley Wealth Management. My last name is Mosley, wealthmanagement.com. If anybody wants to listen to last week's show or any of our shows, you can go to our website. There's a tab to drop down there, and you can find all of the radio shows that Kristin and I do. You can find all the TV shows that Kristin and I do, and you can also find all the YouTube shows. You'll find them on there. There are 108 of those out there, and we'd love to have you look at those and view those. And hey, if you like what you see on the YouTube, you can subscribe through that vein. And every week we put out a new one, and you can be alerted to that. One of my main goals, Kristin, has always been to educate. And I've actually, for a very, very brief time in this industry, I was with a group, and if I called out their name, everybody would recognize that name. And they actually were training, you know, as you were first starting. And it was almost like you want to keep the customer a little bit in the dark because if they know too much, they'll question you too much.
Ooh.
And it's like, I've always had this attitude, maybe it's wrong, but the money I'm working with is the customer's money.
Right.
And it's their life up until that point, and it's their life from that point to the end of their life. And that's why I'm there to assist them. And I hear horror stories all the time of brokers and insurance guys who just really treat the customer's money like it's their own money. And I want to protect it like it's my own money, but I want to build a plan for the client. So
Absolutely.
yeah, go on there, get educated, not just what we learn here, but with 108 YouTube shows and with over 50 TV shows and with over 100 radio shows, you should find something you could learn from. So
Absolutely.
go
Well,
on there and grab that.
and I so appreciate that, Tom, that your mentality is you want to educate and empower people. Your job as a financial advisor is to provide recommendations and to provide advice, but you're working for the client. It's up to all of you then to do what you want to do with your money. Your job, Tom, is to present the options. They get to decide what the best course of action is with your guidance.
Right. And if you're listening out there, you need to understand your plan. You need to understand what you're in. I have so many people come in and sit across the conference table, and their biggest concern is they say, we like the person we're working with. He or she, is nice to us. They're they should be. They're making money off of your money. Everybody does. But they say they only tell me you're okay. Don't worry about it. You're
Mm-hmm.
okay. Don't worry about it. But I need more than just their assurance that I'm okay. Don't worry about it. I need a plan. I need to understand it. I need to understand what I'm in. So that might be a red flag for some of you out there that maybe you need to look for a little bit more advice or at least a second opinion so that somebody can work for you for free for a little while to make sure that the person who's making money off you is right when they're telling you you're okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You need to get that written plan. I'm joking when I say that. You need to really work with somebody who's always going to be willing to educate you, stay educated themselves, stay up to date, and make sure your plan is relevant to today. When laws change, when environments change, your plan needs to alter somewhat.
So true. Wise words for sure. Well, let's continue on in our important conversation of risk. So last week we covered the first three risks of this series. We talked about longevity risk, inflation, and healthcare costs. The first risk we're going to cover on today's show is market risk. This is a big one. And really what we want to focus on is how can market volatility impact your retirement savings?
Well, volatility is not a bad thing when I'm building my retirement savings. When I'm 25 years old and that market goes down 50%, that's a great buying opportunity. It's a great time to jump in there and buy things at half price. And then when everything grows back, because at least historically, the market has had an upward trajectory through the years. So the market, like the old saying, it's been very good to me. It's been very good to you. It's really done well. And a lot of people come in and they say, well, I've given you some money to manage and I've still got my money in the market through my 401k and it's growing better than what you're managing for us. And sometimes I point out it's because you're putting $30,000 a year more into it and it's growing.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, oh yeah, forget I'm adding to it. So the market has been good. We call that building a lumber yard. And that's exactly what you should be doing when you're 25, 35, 45, and even 55. Build that lumber yard. But when it comes time to retire, the market giveth and the market taketh away. Okay. So when the market is down and you're in retirement and you're taking money out of the market, let's say you've just got the lumber yard and you're just going to it every now and then. You're hoping it's going to last all your life. You don't know how long you're going to live. You don't have a guarantee of a stream of income for the rest of your life that's going to be sufficient to meet your budget. So what you do is you just go and hope. You pull out some money every year. And then when the market's down 50%, you're pulling out twice as many units. And having a lumber yard versus having a developed plan where your assets are allocated, your assets are diversified. One of the biggest ways you need to diversify is you need to tell some of your money to provide you income for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to tell the rest of your money, stay invested because I need the market. I need growth because I may live for an awfully long time. Now, the danger, Kristin, of people leaving all of their money in the lumberyard is not just the exhaustion of their assets. They could run out of money, but they don't have any confidence. They don't know that when they're 80 years old, they're going to be sufficient in their income for the rest of their life. They're not sure of that. They don't know that. And they don't have that emotional control when they're in their 60s to say, I can spend money in my go-go years when I want to go places, and I don't have to worry about running out of money when I'm in my 80s, because I don't just have a lumberyard where it's all just sitting there in a pile and I hope it's going to last, but I've got a written plan. We call it a retirement blueprint, and I know that I'm not going to run out of money the rest of my life.
Right. And that's why it's so important to get your very own solid retirement blueprint. That number to call to start your process is 888-930-5609. Tom, going back to diversification, it's interesting because a lot of folks enter retirement and they think they're properly diversified, maybe because they have multiple retirement accounts, multiple mutual funds. But really, it's important to be diversified by asset class in order to guard against market risk. Talk about that.
Well, asset class is really important. Tax class is really important. Is it still to be taxed, or has it already been taxed? There are so many things that pop up, but that asset class, not all things move in the same direction at the same time. So it's important that your portfolio have a diversity to it. One of the runs we do is a diversification report when we run a retirement blueprint. And I'm amazed sometimes that people have 50 different mutual funds in their portfolio, but they all hold the same thing. They all hold the big seven that are driving the market. Mm-hmm. And it'll give us a report sometimes that 98% of what's in one mutual fund is the same thing that's in the other. So they're not diversified at all. Right. And the coloring on that chart is pink. And when it's pink, it ain't good, if you understand what I'm saying, because you're all in the same thing. So therefore, you're more subject to a big downturn when those few things go down. When we come back after break, I want to tell you a story about my dad and what he did before I became an investment advisor that lost 80% of what he had. Hey, I don't want you to do that. I want you to have a retirement blueprint. Kristin, tell them how they can get that.
The number to call is 888-930-5609. This is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. When you call that number today, you're going to be able to get connected and schedule a time to come in and meet with one of the all-star advisors of Mosley Wealth Management to develop your personalized, customized retirement blueprint. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to continue this important conversation on market risk right after this.
Which will you spend more money on in retirement, food or healthcare? Do you take your investments out of the stock market now that you're retired? How do you know if you've saved enough to stay retired? Will your Social Security check be reduced in the future? How do you produce income from your nest egg to fight costs like taxes and inflation? At Mosley Wealth Management, Tom Mosley and the team take the guessing out of retirement planning by devising a written plan that accounts for all of your concerns. The bigger question, are you going to be okay in retirement? Find out the answers to your retirement questions by calling Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and today Tom and I are discussing market risk, one of the key risks that you need to be prepared for in retirement. And Tom, I know before the break you shared that you have a powerful story of something that happened to your dad that connects to what we're talking about. So I'd love for you to share that with our listeners.
Hey, I love my dad. He never made in salary more than $36,000 in any 1 year in his life. He was a pastor, but in the part-time, he was also an auctioneer. So he knew the value of things. So he did a lot of buying and selling, and he never really got in the stock market until about 1994, 1995. And I was just getting into the industry at that time. So my dad, as I was just getting in the industry in 1995, he said, I've invested in this stuff and it's funny. My dad called it NASDAQ. And it was a NASDAQ oriented thing. And he had a friend there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who was really into a company that was making money during the dot-com boom hand over fist. And so my dad put about $60,000 in there. I mean, it shot up to 120, 150. And as I was learning the industry, I kept talking to him about the subject we were talking about right at the end of the last segment. Dad, you need to diversify. Dad, you need to diversify. And he was like, son, I will, just as soon as I quit making money with this.
Mm.
And then along came 1999, and he was up to about $200,000 with that $58,000 investment that he had made. And it started coming down. And so he would call me, and he was worried. And this is the way a lot of people do when it comes to the market. Like I said in the first segment, it's been very good to us, so we trust it. And we've lived a really big market expansion in our lifetime.
Yep.
So we trust it, and we know, hey, it'll come back. It'll come back. And we're not saying not be in the market. We're fully in the market, and about 80% of the new money that comes in all goes into the market, even in our own portfolios in Mosley Wealth Management. But sometimes you need to diversify within that market. So he rode this stock, and then it started coming down. Well, I talked to Jerry. Jerry was the guy that he was his good friend who knew about this stock. And I talked to Jerry. It's going to bounce back. It's going to bounce back. Dad went from 58,000 to over 200,000, and he ended up selling it for around 12,000.
Wow.
So he rolled it all the way down. So this is one place that people don't understand it, but the value of a financial advisor sometimes is just a sounding board. I've got a guy that goes to church with me, and he's worth $2 or $3 million. I saw him as we were walking out of church last week, and he doesn't work with me, but he comes in to see me once a year. And we're good friends, and he walks through our neighborhood sometimes, and we talk, and he met me there after church, and he said, hey, how's my financial advisor doing? He said, I consider you my financial advisor, because he does. He comes in every now and then. I don't work with him, but I act as a sounding board to him to just sometimes talk him off the ledge. Yeah. And there was a time a couple of years ago, he was almost patterning my dad. And he was getting way overboard with one particular portfolio. And I warned him about it. And sure enough, as soon as he got out of it, it started going down. Now, he won because he had a sounding board. But when he first started talking to me, he was thinking, let me just stay in there, stay in there. I had a guy came in just within the last couple of weeks, Kristin. It's the largest company in the world right now as of a few weeks ago. And if I named it, everybody would know it. And it's made money hand over fist. And I've made money for people hand over fist in it over the last few years. But you always have to be cautious. And I have people call in and say, do you have this stock in my portfolio? Absolutely. It's in all of our portfolios, but here's the key word, with moderation, because you don't want to ever go overboard in one thing. Now, out there right now, talking about market risk, there's what everybody's beginning to call for a long time now, the Magnificent Seven. There are about 7 different stocks that as of the first part of this year, they're driving over 40% of the market gain, and 3 of them are driving almost 25% of the market gain. So here's the problem. They're great when they're going up, but it's like a lot of things in life. It works until it doesn't work. Yeah. It's good to you until it's not good to you. There was a time in most of your lifetime, if you're listening to this program, that you would have given every penny that it took to buy Sears stock. Okay. And I just drove by the Brea Mall where they've just torn down the Sears store and they're building apartments to attach to that mall because poof, Sears is gone. It's worthless now. So you've got to be careful and this is just one area, this emotional area, this confidence area of sometimes talking you off the ledge or sometimes keeping you from doing something foolish. That's one of the greatest things of value that a financial advisor and working with a financial advisor can bring to your life, can bring to your portfolio and give you a great retirement. But you have to sort of sometimes say, I've got a great set of eyes, but they are not the only eyes that need to look at your portfolio. Many times, even if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you need a second opinion. There may be something that will make you so much stronger, particularly if there's market risk and market downturn.
I love that we're talking about this, Tom, because a lot of times we're just too close to our own stuff to be able to remove the emotion out of the equation. And I think of that study that came out from Vanguard a few years years back now that literally showed, and Vanguard is one of the biggest, most do-it-yourself investors are utilizing Vanguard. So they had no skin in the game for this study. They were able to prove that actually working with a financial advisor can increase someone's returns versus not, for that very reason, because of this very value that you're speaking of.
Well, a lot of people come in too in this area of market risk and they say, man, I had a lady came in, this is a few years ago, but think through this. She said, I got out of the stock market in 2007 and I've been in cash or money markets in the bank since that point.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
so glad. Well, she missed the downturn of 2008. Okay, let's congratulate her.
Yeah.
She was right in when to get out. But let me tell you something, that lady was wrong about not getting back in, because the market went down in the Dow Jones to 6,000. And this season we're in right now, it's in the upper 30s, pumping $40,000 in the Dow. So she missed out on a 6 times growth in the market by just sitting on the sidelines. So you got to be really smart to get out.
Yeah.
But you've got to also be smart to get back in, or if you get in, like my dad, you got to be smart enough to know when to get out.
Exactly, for sure. And it's just timing the market, by the time something's happened, it's often too late. That's why jumping in and jumping back out doesn't serve people well, but having a solid strategy to be able to navigate the ups and downs is what can help you stay the course. And I know you address all of that in these customized retirement blueprints that you build for folks. I think this is a perfect segue into the next risk we wanted to talk about today, which is sequence of returns risk. I'd love for you to first define what that is, and then this ties so beautifully into why it can be so important to work with a financial advisor, especially as you are entering and nearing retirement, because this market risk and the sequence of returns risk can really take a huge chunk out of your retirement savings if you're not careful.
Exactly. In my retirement masterclass, we go over a scenario where a person retired in 1996 with $1 million, taking out the traditional Monte Carlo 4%. But right after they retired, the sequence of the market was straight up for 5 years. Okay. The dot-com boom. So after 5 years, that person starting with 1 million, taking out 40 and growing at $40,000 a year and growing at 3% a year, they would be up to 1.9 million, even though they were taking out money. And I developed this scenario that somebody else is watching this guy or this lady, and they decide to do the same thing in 1999, right before the dot-com bubble burst, okay? And after 5 years, instead of having 1.9, because they hit the wrong sequence of the market, they were down to $542,000. You say, what were they invested in? I used the Standard & Poor's 500, the most standard barometer of the markets up and down there is out there. So sequence of return, basically it asks that question, what's the market going to do immediately after you retire? If you've got $1 million and you've got it all invested in that lumber yard in the market, and 5 years later, the market is down 50%. No matter what you've taken out so far, you're down $500,000 in your original investment without spending a penny of it, plus whatever you've taken out. So that sequence can kill you if you hit the wrong sequence. There are guys on radio who say, put your money in these portfolios, you'll make 8, 10, or 12% a year. And they're really getting called into question right now. And they're very popular people. You'd know who they were if I named them, but you can't depend on the market making 8, 10, or 12%. What would have happened if you had retired in 1929, right before the Great Depression? It took 25 years to the year before the market went positive from where it was when you retired. So don't depend on an 8, 10, or 12% return in the market in retirement. If you hit the wrong sequence, in 2 years, you could lose half your money just to the market if you leave it in the market. That's, Kristin, that sequence of returns ties so much into market risk, but it is one of the reasons you need a diversified plan that addresses your income, addresses inflation. Yes, it addresses investments, but it also addresses your taxes and how much they're going to take out of your portfolio. It addresses your health care, and it addresses your legacy, how you're going to leave it. We call it a retirement blueprint. please, if you're thinking about one, thinking I might need one of those, call in.
And that number to call is 888-930-5609. It costs you nothing to make this important phone call and to schedule your time to come in and receive your retirement blueprint. Again, it's completely complimentary. Not taking advantage of this opportunity could cost you everything. If you're worried about market risk, if you're worried about the sequence of returns risk, get a solid plan in place to help have the peace of mind to know that your money is going to last as long as you do. Again, that number to call is 888-930-5609. We have more on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley right after this.
For your own no-cost retirement blueprint, call Tom Mosley of Mosley Wealth Management, 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Will you outlive your money? It's a scary thought, but it's a real concern for many people. In our opinion, that's why it's crucial to have a solid retirement plan in place. We believe that with proper planning, you can work towards making your money last as long as you do. Don't wait until it's too late to start thinking about your financial future. Call Tom Mosley and the team at Mosley Wealth Management today to learn how we can help you create a retirement plan that can potentially help you obtain peace of mind and security for years to come. Don't let the fear of running out of money in retirement keep you up at night. Take control of your financial future today by calling 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Is having $1 million enough to retire? For years, many have considered this to be the goal amount to have for retirement savings, $1 million. But that's the $1 million question. Is that enough for today's modern retiree? Are you sure you've saved enough for a 25 or 30-year retirement? Are you concerned about covering large expenses, including taxes and long-term care? If so, you're not alone. But there is a solution. With a comprehensive financial plan, you can take control of your finances to help you achieve your long-term goals. At Mosley Wealth Management, let us help you work towards peace of mind by implementing a complete retirement strategy. Call Tom Mosley and the team of Mosley Wealth Management right away to receive your complimentary, comprehensive written financial plan. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609.
Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. He is the founder and president of Mosley Wealth Management based right here in Southern California. And I'm your host, Kristin Oakley. Well, Tom, going back to this important risk, we've been talking about sequence of returns risk, which of course ties into market risk, which we started off today's show talking about. But this is why it's so critical to have a solid withdrawal strategy in place for one's income in retirement, because really this can make or break your retirement plan, right?
It absolutely not could, but will. It will. If you're just going to the well and the well's almost out. I grew up on a farm where we had a well. And we actually, believe it or not, in the first few years of my life, we dropped a bucket down into the well to pull water up. And it was great water, don't get me wrong, and we would pull it up. But when the season was bad and the rain didn't come and the well got low, we would always use less water. And that withdrawal strategy's got to be really, really careful. When the market drops off the table, those units that you're drawing out, those shares, whatever you're invested in, every time you draw one of them out, it's got less value. So if you need $4,000 a month, and it's down 50%, you're drawing out $8,000 worth of shares when the market's at its normal level. So that's so crucial for you to have a well-developed and diversified plan that's allocated the right way, some of the words we've touched on in this show. And you need those cash reserves. You need that emergency fund. And maybe for a few months, you live off the emergency fund and you don't kick the market while it's down. You don't just kick it and make it stay down, because you could destroy your portfolio. That's the core issue of sequence risk. When the market is down and you're still drawing out, if you're still in the market and that's your source of income, then you could be really depleting and endangering your long-term retirement sufficiency when it comes to finances.
So from a really high level, I know we don't have time to get into the weeds with it today, but what are the strategies that you're able to use for folks to help protect against that happening?
Well, build an income bucket.
Mhm.
Build a bucket that's not directly related to the market. Now, right now, Kristen, with rates the way they are at the bank, and that sort of moves us into the next risk, and we'll sort of merge these together here of interest rate risk. Well, the season is great for risk and for returns that you're getting from the bank right now. So you need that bucket of income. And some people like to just put it into something like a money market, and they keep 2 years worth of income in a money market, or they keep 2 years worth of income in a security that's a guaranteed security. Some of ours are paying north of 5% right now, a little bit more than you'll get at the bank. And they just go to that for their income bucket, and they replenish it in years when the market is up, but that money is not at risk in the market. It still has an element of risk to it, and it could run out. Now, that's where the other thing is. Some people come in, Kristen, and they say, no, is there any way I can insure this? Well,
Mhm.
bingo, that's where the fixed indexed annuity comes in, where when you put your money in a fixed indexed annuity and your budget is set the right way so that you know how much you need. And what we do is we add up your Social Securities or Social Security if you're single. We add up any pensions you've got, and we calculate your budget. And if there's a shortfall, recently I had a shortfall with a couple of $2,000. So
Mhm.
that's right about $25,000 a year. They had $1.6 million in their portfolio.
Okay.
So what we did was we put $500,000 in a fixed indexed annuity that's going to start kicking out $25,000 a year. That meets their needs right now. And this fixed indexed annuity is built so that you can add more to the income flow every single year. It will grow as the market grows. So their income is taken care of with their
Right.
socials, with the
Mhm.
little pension they had, and with that fixed indexed annuity, but it's insured by the insurance company. And the nice thing about it is if you put your money into a money market, or you put it into a fund that we could give a little bit more to you, and you just draw your income out of that will work. That is good. But if that fund ever does run dry, you're still at market risk, because if your other funds don't keep replenishing it, and we go through a series of years where we have a downturn, you're out of money, you're out of luck, and your IRA goes to zero. But
Mm.
if you put that money in a fixed indexed annuity that's insured by the insurance company, you say insured, yeah, it's insured that you'll never run out of income. Get a load of this, even after you run out of your money. That's
Mhm.
what the fixed indexed annuity being held by an insurance company does for you. So building that overcomes this withdrawal problem that sequence risk and market risk can cause.
So important to have these different buckets. It's almost like we're telling our money that has different jobs it has to do for us, right? That's really
Exactly.
the goal.
Well, you do. And think about it, Kristen. I liken the market to a lumber yard. You,
Mhm.
you don't go look at a lumber yard and say, what a beautiful house.
Yep. Yep.
To get a house out of a lumber yard that you've built through the years, that's your 401k, your 403bs, all of those things. To turn that into a house, you need a blueprint.
Yep.
And that's why we call what we do a retirement blueprint. Now, let me go through that just a little bit. Okay. A retirement blueprint starts with, and you say, what do you see your retirement looking like? And that's where the budget comes in. And we say, what's it going to cost to fund this retirement you're looking for? And that's why you can't call up and say, send me a retirement blueprint, because we don't have them on the shelf ready built. We got to know what your landscape is, where you're going to build your house in retirement, where you're going to build your life in retirement, and then we can go to work. But we take that lumber yard and then through a blueprint, and exactly like you said, Kristen, we tell some of your money, you provide my income for the rest of my life. Kristen, when I sit across the table from somebody who realizes they've just provided insured income for the rest of their life,
Mhm.
there are so many times it's just a big, just a
Sigh of
big
relief.
sigh.
Yep.
It's a sigh of relief. And then this couple that I was talking about briefly earlier, they have 1.6, $1.5 million was able to go to their income to provide them that guaranteed increasing income for the rest of their life. We call that the paycheck side of the blueprint. The paycheck side of the blueprint is $1.1 million. And I love this couple, never any names, but they're looking for a motor home. Okay. Because they said, we've got $1.1 million. It's not unlimited money, but it's not the kind of deal where we've got to wait. We don't know. We hope the money's going to last. We don't know what the market's going to do to it. We don't know what the sequence risk is going to hit us as what the market does in the first few years. All of those things come in. And they're able to say, let's go have some fun. Let's go enjoy our go-go years. And that is so crucial. Now, I do want to touch on interest rate risk just a few seconds, okay?
Go for it.
If you're out there, I've run into a lot of people recently who have a big chunk of money in a bank savings account, a regular one. I've recommended for 3 people just in the last 2 weeks, call your bank. They have these super money markets right now that are paying north of 4%. All 3 of those people call me back, they're clients, and they were able to raise their interest rate by asking the bank, is there a better money market right now? Right now is the time to loan your money to the bank. Because they're paying more money than they have traditionally over the past 30 or 40 years. So this interest rate risk, make it work for you. Try not to borrow any money right now. But if you've got money to lend, like if you've got an annuity out there, you've loaned money to the insurance company, you better check it out. There might be better annuities, better paying annuities that would be an encouragement to you, even to face a surrender charge, maybe to get in a better position in a better annuity that's out there.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up, Tom, because for a lot of folks, they think of, oh, we're in a higher interest rate environment. That means that there's nothing that we can do. To your point, it's not good for mortgages. It's not good for car loans, things of that nature. But this could be a great opportunity for folks to refinance their existing annuity is what you're talking about, right?
And you've got to ask for it. They're not going to call you and say, hey, do you know we could pay you more money? They're not going to do that. You've got to ask for it and be proactive.
And that's why it's never been a better time for you to pick up the phone and call to get your personalized retirement blueprint. We realize that we might have brought up some things today that you might not have thought of before, or you've been thinking, you know what, I really do need to take a harder look at this. Now is the time. That number to call is 888-930-5609. And for no cost, no charge, no obligation, you'll be able to set up a time to sit down and meet with one of the all-star advisors from Mosley Wealth Management to receive your very own complimentary retirement blueprint. More on today's show right after this.
Get your retirement right on the money with Tom Mosley. Call 888-930-5609 for your no-cost appointment. 888-930-5609.
Do you know how you'll generate income from your investments along with your Social Security in retirement? In our opinion, it's never too early to start the income planning process for your future. An income plan can help you work towards creating a steady stream of income to support you throughout your retirement years. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Take control today and start income planning for your retirement. Call the team at Mosley Wealth Management so we can help you design a complimentary written income plan to help you live the retirement you've always wanted. Call 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Welcome back to Right on the Money with Tom Mosley. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and that's that time of the week where we get to answer some listener question on today's show. Now, just a reminder that we invite you to email your questions in. If you have a question that you would like for Tom to answer on the radio show, you can email your question in to info@mosleywealthmanagement.com. That's info@MOSLEYwealthmanagement.com. We always change the names to protect your privacy, so you don't need to worry about that, but we love hearing from you, so we encourage you to write in. This week, we have a very special set of questions that Tom is going to answer on today's show. These are recent questions that have come across the desk of Ed Slott. Now, for those of you that may not be familiar, I'm going to let Tom share a little bit more about who Ed Slott is, but Tom, you yourself have been a master elite advisor with Ed Slott for 7 years now, and that's saying something. So why don't you share with folks a little bit about that relationship and that partnership so they can understand and appreciate where these questions are coming from?
Hey, for those of you who have not heard of Ed Slott is known as America's authority on IRAs and 401k taxation. And he has a group. There are about, I think, 400 or 500 of us nationwide. It's made up about half of CPAs and about half of financial advisors. And we gruelingly meet with him twice a year for 2 days. So 4 days a year, we go from 8 o'clock in the morning until about 5:30 in the afternoon. Every 2-day session that we have, and there are 2 per year, we have about a 500-page manual we go through of tax laws, tax changes, IRS rulings, and different things that impact your taxation on IRAs and 401ks. And as I said, Ed is a master. He's a CPA. He's a tax attorney, and he's been doing this for years. You might have seen him on PBS because he has special shows from time to time. And I love learning from him. I hate learning from him because it is 4 grueling days.
It's
And I always go
intense.
through this psychological battle that, oh my gosh, these are the longest 4 days of the year for me. I don't know why I have to do it. And I pay money to do this. Can you
Right.
believe that? Okay. I pay 5 figures a year to be able to sit there and be grueled and grilled. But every time at the end of that first day and the second day, I always come out of that saying, there's nowhere else I can get this information. There's
Mhm.
nobody else teaching this information. And I cannot believe, and I understand why so many of you come into our office and meet with us. And we've talked specifically about taxes on IRAs and 401ks. And you come in and you say, my broker doesn't want to talk about taxes.
Mm.
I understand because it's complex. And if you do tax harvesting, for instance, that could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars on your 401k. If you do that, that broker makes less money because they don't get to bill you on everything that you pay to the government.
Right.
So they don't want to do tax harvesting. In fact, the biggest of all investment firms says we won't do tax harvesting with our group, with our people. So you really, really need to have some input on taxes. And so I just thought questions come across his desk all the time. He shares those with us as Master Elite Advisors. And I just thought we'd go through some of them that he's run across my email in the last few weeks and share them with you.
Well, let's get to it because we know that you out there listening probably have a lot of these same questions as well. First up, this question said, at age 80, after I take my required minimum distribution, otherwise known as the RMD, can I then do a rollover from my IRA to my Roth IRA? If I can, is there a limit as to how much? I know that it is all taxable.
Well, Mr. or Miss 80-year-old, you're very knowledgeable because you're right. You have to, right now the age is 73, take your required minimum distributions. If I remember math correctly, 80 is higher than 73. So yes, you're doing the right thing there. And the answer to your question is yes. After you take your RMD, which cannot be rolled over into a Roth, the government doesn't allow that. That has to go into an after-tax account. And by the way, there are a lot of things you can put that into. I recently had a couple, and then they're rolling their RMDs that they don't need out of their IRA. They're rolling that over into a life insurance policy that builds cash value, not for themselves, but for their grandchildren to leave as a gift to their grandchildren. So there's a lot of flexibility and variations you can use with that money, but you can also roll that money over additionally after that RMD. You can roll additional money over into a Roth IRA. And as you said, by paying the tax to it, and the good news is to your question, there is no limit. As much as you can, from a tax standpoint, stomach, you can roll over after you take out your RMD. You can roll over additional money into your Roth IRA.
So important to make sure you get all those rules correct, right, Tom?
I know. 73. And you know what? 73 has been 2 other ages in the past 5 years. And in 5 more years, it's going to be even a different age. So it's 73 right now. Just focus on that. If you were born in 1951 or before, and you've got an IRA, you should be in almost all cases needing to take out a required minimum distribution.
Yes, and that's an annual thing. It's non-negotiable. It is required. And if you don't take it, or if you take the wrong amount, or you take it from the wrong account, the IRS will slap on an additional 25% penalty. So important that you're working with someone who knows these rules in and out like you do. Which brings us to our next question. This is interesting. This is right on the heels here of what we were talking about. This person said, I turned 73 in October of 2024. Do I have to wait until my birthday in October when I actually turn 73 to take my RMD amount for the year? Or does any withdrawal I make in 2024 count towards my required minimum distribution? Great question.
Great question. You're in your RMD first year. You do not have to wait until your birthday. You can take it out anytime from 2024, from January 1st, because you turned 73 this year. You can take it out anytime from now until actually April 1st of next year. If you wait till next year, I think it's a little bit of a trick. You can postpone it until next year to take out your first RMD. But if you do, that RMD you take out before April applies to this year, 2024, and then you have to take out an additional RMD next year for 2025. So you end up having to take out 2 RMDs next year. Confusing? Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
So I think they even make some of these laws just so they confuse people. And to your point, Kristin, you do it wrong, they don't really mind because they get to penalize you an additional 25%.
Exactly. I used to say when I would present on this material, Tom, that I'd like to meet the clown who wrote that rule. April 1st of the year following the year you turn 73. It's like, is this some kind of sick April Fool's joke, right?
Right.
But that's the problem. It's easy to get tripped up on it.
In my master class, I always ask, what's the big tax day in April? Well, everybody says April 15th. Right. But the RMD date is April 1st. And again, it's just confusing.
Yep, for sure. Well, moving on, the next question comes from someone who said, can an individual who is using the age 55 exception to the 10% early distribution penalty roll over a part of a 403(b) account to an IRA and leave a portion in the 403(b) to take penalty-free withdrawals?
Yes. Yes, there's some really things you need to do to make sure you're staying within compliance. You say 55, I thought I couldn't take money out of a 401k until I'm 59 and a half. There is a 72T rule. It's called substantially equal payments. You set yourself up, and I'm not trying to be simple here because it's too technical to really go into, but if you're out there and you're knowledgeable of this, be really careful because you then have to take equal withdrawals for 60 months, for 5 years, if you start taking that money out. And that way, before 59 and a half, if you're 55 and you're no longer working there, you can take substantially equal payments and withdraw money from a 401k. Now, recently we had a gentleman who was in this situation. He was 57 and he needed to take money for the next few years for income. If he had rolled that over into an IRA, you can't take money out of an IRA in any way unless there's a health reason or something. And you can't take money before 59 and a half without a 10% penalty. But there is a way in a 4 plan, a 401k or a 403b, where you can take money out of a 403b or a 401k called substantially equal payments. You lock yourself in for 5 years. And that can be dangerous too, because you lock it in according to the value of the account on the very first month that you start taking money out. And then if the market does a 50% downturn, you still have to take out those huge sums of money based on what it was on the very first month that you started taking it out. So it could turn around and bite you if you're not careful. So, a 72T, all of those things, those are really, really crucial that you understand and you work with somebody who does. Hey, listen, here's what we do. We take your situation. If you want to build a retirement blueprint, we start with a blank piece of paper. I've got 6 all-star advisors They are all licensed fiduciaries. They don't use this terminology like brokers use. We act as fiduciaries. No, we are fiduciaries, okay? And it's in our paperwork. We are fiduciaries. We'll show it to you if you become a client. That gives us a higher standard that we have to meet in doing what's in your best interest. We have to do what we would do if we were you, okay? We have to do the right thing. A broker has to sell the right product. A fiduciary has to do the right thing for you. And we build a retirement blueprint that touches on income that we've talked about earlier in the show, inflation, investments that we've talked about during the show, taxes that we've talked about in this last segment. And we build that thing. Additionally, we talk about healthcare and legacy, but we build that specifically for you. And it costs you absolutely nothing. In a couple of meetings, we can put that together for you, give you a ton of reports, give it all to you in writing, and then you decide and we decide if we want to go forward working together. But the first thing you have to do is pick up the phone and call. Please do so.
Tom, thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us this weekend. That number to call to get your personalized retirement blueprint is 888-930-5609. We encourage you, now is the time to get the peace of mind that can come with having a solid plan in place for your retirement. And as we've talked about today, there's so much to know. There's so many ways that things can go wrong. Give yourself the gift of knowing that you are working with someone who is a fiduciary who has your best interests at heart. Again, 888-930-5609. Thanks so much for joining us. And Tom, I know from all of our listeners and myself included, we are wishing you and your family a wonderful wedding celebration for your beautiful daughter, Mackenzie, this weekend. We love you. We appreciate you being here with us. Have a great time celebrating. Until next week, be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on Right on the Money with Tom Mosley.
Tom Mosley and the team have helped thousands of folks like you in Southern California plan for their retirement. Now make the call yourself. 888-930-5609. That's 888-930-5609. Investment advisory services offered by duly registered individuals through Mosley Wealth Management Incorporated. Mosley Wealth Management and Mosley Insurance and Financial Services are affiliated companies by common ownership license number OB61811. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refers to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength, claims paying ability of the issuing carrier. This content is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the needs of an individual situation. All hypothetical examples are provided for illustrative purposes only. They do not represent real-life scenarios. Mosley Insurance and Financial Services, nor its agents or representatives, may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any investment decisions. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. Some of the information provided may be from one or more third parties, which we believe to be reliable sources, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Mosley Insurance and Financial